Everybody, hi, chat. Is
Okay.
he ready?
Yeah, I'll bring him in. It's time.
Okay, I'll bring him in. Oh,
Surprise debate time. What's going on? Suck my opinion. How you doing?
What's up, bro?
How you doing? Are you having a good day? Have you enjoyed the stream so far?
Oh, I just got out of work, bro, and like I said, man, I'm trying to talk to all leftists, all parts of the leftists, the ones, who come from reactionary side. I talk to y'all too.
Do you
It
think
might seem like
do,
what
do
you
you
good?
think I'm a reactionary?
No, I'm saying that I'm
Oh
saying that
yeah, I was a reactionary and then became a leftist.
yeah,
Yeah, okay.
they are ones who come like I come from the liberal side, you come from the reactionary side. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I mean, I respect you coming on to talk to me and whatnot. I understand we have a few disagreements in terms of our methods.
Yeah, man, like I kind of think y'all be too soft on them, kissing their ass, like real hard, like I'm
I
talking tongue in the booty hole type kissing ass. But
I don't know any scenario where me calling them subhuman and in some cases saying that the best thing they can do for the world is to literally die off. I don't consider that being very soft.
come on, man. Okay,
I mean, I literally said that about no bullshit today. I don't think that's being soft.
that's not. I'm not talking about no bullshit. I'm talking about how we bringing on the what you call reactionaries to the okay, like
Trying to convince reactionaries to become leftists, or at
yeah,
least.
reactionary white people, or what we
Mhm.
should do. Um, like I get y'all, with the bait and switch. You talk about SJWs. If okay, as a black person, I would get some white people like you. I'll say, okay, go out there, whine and complain about SJWs, cancel culture. But then when you bring them in, then I think that's when we go hard on them, right? You know what I'm saying? Like y'all a bunch of essentially idiots. You know what I'm saying? Idiot clowns who are the prime targets of scam artists. Who would not want to scam the Republican voter base? They're the easiest to scam. You know what I'm saying?
Kind of. So what I'll say right now is that my target audience, and what I try to do as a content creator on the left, is try to appeal to mostly centrists who are on the fence, generally reactionaries. I was lucky enough that when I was a reactionary, I was still a reasonable person who could be appealed to by facts and like reasonable arguments. But most reactionaries, I basically come to realize, generally are unreachable and are beyond saving. So I try to appeal to centrists, people who their most political take is like, oh, feminism is trying to ruin gaming and stuff like that. Nothing overtly like alt right or anything, but people who are really into like edgy, edge lord humor kind of shit, but aren't full on reactionaries quite yet. Those are the
Give me an
people I generally.
give me an edge lord joke, cause like give me an edge lord joke. Give me one. What kind of edge lord joke you like? Cause you saying centrist. If a guy told me feminism is destroying America or destroying the movie industry, I don't. You kind of,
Or no,
you know what I'm
I'm not
saying?
saying feminism is destroying America. That's like some full on alt right ideology. I'm saying like feminists are trying to change video games and they're making video games worse. That's like not a alt right belief. That's like a basic gamer bro centrist belief that seems to become very, very popular.
Yeah, because like what I would tell somebody, I would say, you kind of being an idiot. You know what I'm saying? You kind of being a fool. Like what I would tell them is, kind of make fun of them, kind of make them laugh at themselves. You know, I got pig puncher. Like I used to be a racist, right? I used to hate white people, right? I used to hate gay people. And how I came turn around was that I realized I was being silly, kind of laughed at myself, And I think is you can if you can get them to see how ridiculous they are, how silly they are. Do you have moments where you just laugh about how ridiculous you used to be?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All the time. I get embarrassed sometimes too. Looking back at like my old sub count, like or not my old sub count, my old subscription box. Looking at the my old liked videos from 2016, I laugh at it. I was very very stupid, and a lot of people who've gone down to a certain point are unreachable, but I'm not trying to appeal to like Nazis and shit. I don't want, like, if I can convince a Nazi to not be a Nazi anymore, or a reactionary not to be a reactionary anymore, that's great. But generally I'm aiming for people who are just getting into politics, and either they're going to get picked up and brought down into the reactionary shit because they come across, I don't know, like Chris Ray Gun, or an old Chris Ray Gun video, or an old Shuanhead video, and that's what gets them into it. Or they're going to come across me or Vosh, who basically is the opposite of every stereotype that you think of when you think of like a feminist or of a progressive, and they're going to be like, oh, actually this shit's not that bad, and that's going to be how they get into politics, rather than feminism bad, SJW's bad, and so on and so on. And then eventually they're watching Sargon of Akkad videos, and they're learning about how actually the cultural Marxists and modernity bad, and then they're watching your Nick Fuentes's and your like literal neo-Nazis. I want to stop them from falling down that rabbit hole before they do.
Oh, I do too, but that's funny. I identify as a cultural Marxist, but
well, usually when a reactionary says cultural Marxist, it's a dog whistle for Jews.
He's talking. So that's why I said I call myself one, to make it more clearly, like, okay, I'm one. What you mean? Because I don't know I'm not Jewish. What you mean? But yeah, man. Okay, centrist. Okay. All right.
Well, I mean, so the issue is centrism is kind of hard to define. I consider liberals to be fairly centrist. Like, most liberals that I see are literally only a few anti-SJW videos away from forsaking quite a bit of their beliefs, especially if they're white. Especially if they're white. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of my fans in my audience that I've talked to are black or just non-white in general, and they've fallen down the rabbit hole too by watching creators who are the same identity as them that spread the same ideology. Some black guy is responsible for red pilling and sending down the alt-right pipeline a shit ton of black people. Blair White has done the same for a lot of trans people. So it's not just trying to appeal to like edgy white boys. I'm also trying to appeal to people who aren't just like straight white dudes who may fall down that rabbit hole, because if you are any identity, there is somebody out there that can radicalize you to the far right despite your identity, no matter how against your best interests it is. That's why we have people who are white supremacists that are black out there.
Yeah, Uncle Tom's. I know you're talking about your tokens. Yeah, I know you're talking about.
Generally, I try not to say that, because then like reactionary black people will say it's just as bad as the N-word when it's not. But
Nah, I call them tokens. They know what they are. Blair White is a token. She's an Uncle Tom. She knows that. I know this. You know this.
I call her Auntie Blair.
Yeah, just a token. Fucking token.
Yeah.
But what? Okay. Now, people who are watching Shoe on Head, right? You say Chris Ray Gun. You Richard Spencer said himself that he loves Chris Ray Gun because he's bringing in the people. So I don't really
So yeah, I know exactly what you're gonna say here. With Chris Ray Gun, I'm on decent footing with him right now. What I've been trying my best to do is to get him into leftist creators. Like I basically like got him into it. He's going to be debating Vosh, so that's going to be interesting, because hopefully that'll happen. The issue is Chris Ray Gun was the start of the alt-right rabbit hole for me. Also, thank you for the two tier 1 gifted subs, Comrade Courtney. Chris Ray Gun was the start of the alt-right rabbit hole for me. And so even though he isn't doing shit that's as bad now, I still have a pretty bad taste in my mouth from the shit that he said back in the day. He defended Richard Spencer in the first ever video I watched from him, back when nobody really knew who Richard Spencer was, and I was too politically illiterate to know either. He's done a lot of irresponsible platforming on his channel as well. He platformed Sargon a shit ton. He made a ton of videos back in the day that were very, very tone deaf, and just overall, his older stuff, not so much his newer stuff, but his older stuff, really, really bad for political discourse online. I mean, he was the start of the rabbit hole for me. As for Shuanhead, she's gone back and deleted a lot of her stuff, but she's still... I understand why a lot of people... I do understand why a lot of people feel that she hasn't sufficiently apologized for the stuff she said in the past. Like, the thing she said about Leslie Jones was really fucked up. Being friends with Lauren Southern, really fucked up. A lot of what Shuanhead has done in the past is, for many people, unforgivable, and I understand that. But somebody.
It's not. No, it's real simple. She could make a video tomorrow saying, white nationalism is bad. You know, I'm gonna do a video with I don't know, another major left YouTuber. She has the social capital. She could do that, but she won't do that because from a mile away, I can sense she's a grifting piece of shit. But that's I don't even really want to talk about that. But I mean, it's just to me. Come on, Pig, man. It's pretty obvious. Pig. Maybe I'm. What
no, I'm the people I'm talking about here that see what she said as unable to be redeemed are like people who on Twitter say, I don't care how much Shuan had apologizes, what she said is unforgivable, what she's done is unforgivable, the harm that she's had is unforgivable, and people who, no matter what she said, would not forgive her. Those are the people I'm talking about. I don't know if you're one of those people. It doesn't sound like you are, but I'm someone who's a big fan of redemption, and so I get really upset if I see anybody pushing the idea that there are groups of people who are completely irredeemable. I do think there are individuals who are, but that's why like someone like Lily Orchard really pisses me off because she's really against the idea of like redeeming Nazis, redeeming fascists.
All right, put like if Shoeonhead had done a video with a pedophile, what you be thinking is, if she had done multiple videos with a pedophile, she'd be publicly with a pedophile. Nambla, you know what Nambla is?
Yeah, I know what Nambla is.
She was okay. She said she working with Nambla. She doing video with him. And then all of a sudden, and then you asked her, you said, "Hey, Shu, why you is with Nambla?" "Oh, that's just my friend. You know, I don't really want to talk about that." How would you take that? Let me ask you that. How would you take that?
Okay, so for starters, I know this is like an analogy, but I would like to point out she made a video that was called "Defending Pedophilia to Own the Libs," where she was making fun of a reactionary who was defending pedophilia in order to get at the left. But in the restrictions of this analogy, I know you're making this comparison because she was friends with Blair White, who was a white nationalist.
And
not Blair White. Lauren Southern. Sorry, not Blair White. Sorry, Lauren Southern. She has since ended her friendship with Lauren Southern. No longer talks to her publicly. From my understanding, she publicly, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Disavowed her ideology. I don't think Shuonhead is usually seen as a gateway to the alt-right anymore. I know her old content can be seen that way, but every one of her newer content, especially on her Brainlit channel, is pretty explicitly leftist. Or I should say left-leaning, not leftist. She's a sock dem.
Me personally, you know, if it wasn't white nationalism that she was co-opting, people wouldn't have this like I'm not in the audience, I'm not going against white people, I say this, but I understand a lot of people who come from reactionary backgrounds have a soft spot from white nationalists because they feel that, you know, in a sense they're all victims, they've been brainwashed. But I kind of don't, in a sense that's like, okay, you push this, you're a fucking 25-year-old person, just make a video. It's not that, but to see her audience is still, she has a lot of Nazis and fascists in her audience. We all know this. So the fact that she won't make a video saying, you know, going hard on it, she is the biggest anti-feminist in the history of the internet, probably easily the history of YouTube. And the fact she won't do that lets me know that, okay, you know, she wants them people around her. She can easily do it tomorrow, you know what I'm saying? Easily do it.
So this is something that I used to say a lot of when I first because when I first came out of the alt-right rabbit hole and I started identifying as a liberal again, I had this like deep hatred for people like Chris Ray Gun and Shuonhead because I was like, I can't believe I was dumb enough to fall down that fucking rabbit hole. These pieces of shit. And I used to say that same stuff. Like, if Chris Ray Gun and Shuonhead aren't fucking Nazis or alt-righters, why don't they just fucking make a video fucking disavowing this shit? And I even understand this point of view with PewDiePie to a degree. Shuonhead built her entire, well, not so much for PewDiePie, but for a little bit. Shuonhead built her entire YouTube career. This is her income. This is how she makes her money, on shitting on feminism. So I can understand having a little bit of a and when you've built an audience like that, you're going to have a significant amount of reactionaries in your audience. So I can understand from a monetary perspective being somewhat cautious, just coming out and saying, I completely disavow all of you. What I have noticed, and I know she is doing because I've talked to her in private, what Shuonhead is doing is phasing far left ideas, I guess by what most people would consider far left ideas, into her content, so that people start to believe these things and see them as reasonable, sort of without really realizing it. She does have plans to eventually make videos that are just absolutely shitting on the right constantly, from what I've talked to her in private. But right now, what she's trying to do is just sort of phase in more lefty ideas, to kind of get the centrist gamer bro anti-feminist people who watch her for anti-feminist stuff into lefty stuff. I mean, one of her most recent videos from like a couple, yeah, she's kind of slowly bread pilling her audience in that way. One of her more recent videos was her making fun of an anti-feminist children's book, where it's like this really cringy like children's book that's animated. It's supposed to be anti-feminist and it's clearly extremely reactionary. She made a whole video making fun of it. It did pretty well. She still got some pushback from some of her audience, but it's very clear that her audience is receptive to what she says. So what she said to me, for the most part, is that she can probably influence her audience who listen to a lot of what she has to say without pushing them away by just straight out saying the anti-feminist shit is bullshit, when that's what she's built her audience on, you know?
We acting like it's real difficult. You understand what I'm saying?
Well,
It's
I mean,
not.
it can be if it's your income. I mean, boiling the frog is something that works. It worked for me. It's how people fall down the reactionary rabbit hole. You have to boil the frog to get people to fall down the leftist rabbit hole as well.
I mean, like I said about shooting head, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I understand that people do come from reactionary backgrounds, and it's gonna be hard to see that person, that idol, that reactionary idol, shooting head, go back on all her shit. But she can do it. You know, if you're talking to her, say just say do it. See what happens. We'll know. We don't know. It might work. Shit. You know,
Well, she
ain't
is
that
doing
something?
it.
If she just tomorrow came hard, I'm talking about she went hard. How she go hard on feminism? How she could go hard against fascism, white nationalism? She can go hard, make it funny. She could do it. I mean, it's not that difficult, but she won't. But that's she won't hit, man. I mean, look, that's whatever, man. Like, I mean, I still think she's a piece of shit, but that's me, and a lot of people do too. I ain't the only person. I ain't just. It's not something. I'm just. It's not like I'm like I talked to Vash about this. He said, man, he was confused when I felt this way, and I was like, dude, I mean, like, what are you?
So I'm not confused about it because I understand why you feel this way, because I was in this position after I came out of the reactionary rabbit hole. You're saying that because I was there, I feel like a bit of sympathy, or I'm a little lighter or a little nicer to these figures. I think I'm probably more. I would argue that I'm more hard on them than most people would be who never came out of this rabbit hole. Because I look back and I say Sean Head and Chris Reagan were responsible for making me into a reactionary, or sending me down that pipeline. So
And
I looked
millions others.
yeah, and millions of others as well. So I look back at them a little more harshly than I think most people do. However, I also am able to look at objective fact, and the fact is, Shuan Head is not a reactionary anymore. A fact is that she may have contributed to radicalizing a lot of people down the rabbit hole, but what I will say is that she's taken significant efforts to make her content not reflect those beliefs anymore, as well as in recent years, she has deleted a lot of her old content, and she is trying to boil the frog in her audience, so to say, to kind of phase out that anti-feminist stuff. I mean, she's friends with Claudia Brown, who is, probably one of the most prominent feminists on Twitter and YouTube, like in leftist communities. She's befriended people like all throughout Breadtube. She's been engaging in talks with them. She's been watching their content. She doesn't watch people like she doesn't even talk to people like Sargon or anyone further right anymore. It's very clear that she is falling down the leftist rabbit hole, per se. I wouldn't be surprised if in a year from now she's a socialist.
Hey, man, you have to see that, man, because
I mean,
like
it's a trend. I mean, did you see the kind of content Sean Head was making 2 years ago compared to now?
I looked at a YouTube channel a week ago and I said same old shit. So, hey, man, I hope this happens, bro. I want it to happen. I ain't you think I don't. I would like it to happen, but that's not currently the case. But who knows? But I know right now, if I sometimes do this with my Twitter followers who come to defend Shorthead, I would say something bad about her, and then my Twitter mentions a filled with neo-Nazis. But like I said, um when I sense what as on the outside looking in as a non-white person, you'll probably agree with this. There's this sense that white people cannot speak freely without people of color getting on their ass. You feel what I'm saying? You feel this, right? Is this aura
Not
that that
not
that
not anymore. No. Not as a leftist. I usually don't experience that. I think it's more of just a idea that
yeah,
a lot
I
of
know it's
reactionaries
bullshit. Yeah, I
have, where
know
it's
it.
like, oh, I can't say the N word and make racist jokes without getting shit on by black people. As like a leftist, I don't feel it, but I think most people who aren't like politically woke probably feel that.
If a centrist came to you and said, "Hey, pig, I can't speak around the black people and Mexicans," what would you tell them?
I can't speak around them.
This is like, bro. Like I said, also I live in Alabama too now. A lot of I work with them. I know a lot of reactionary white people, and they tell me that they cannot speak around black people. They say, "Man, black people, they gonna shut us down." I'm like, what are you talking about? They have this, because they have walled themselves off. They only watch reactionary content. They don't watch any television. They don't watch any other news that is other than Trump dominated news. Only white people talking to them, so they get this fantasy land in their head.
It's an echo
Now,
chamber. They aren't seeing any
yeah,
leftist content. They're stuck in an echo chamber of reactionary ideology.
if somebody, yeah, I try to tell them. I say, bro, you can talk to me. I'm talking to you right now, but what would you tell them? I think that is the biggest thing I see of all. Like, as an outside looking in, as a non-white person, I see that as the biggest thing. If you can get them past that, if you can let them know that this is not the case, you can talk, you can speak your mind around people of color. You know what I'm saying? Do you feel like what would you tell somebody who feel this way? How could you?
I mean, it depends on how it depends on how aggressive or how hostile they are coming into it. Like, if they're very defensive and they don't seem like they're going to be receptive to leftist ideas, I would kind of have to boil the frog, which is generally the best way to do it. Say, okay, so why do you feel that way? And they say, well, I like to make these edgy jokes about, like, black people and stuff, and then every time I do it, some black person thinks I'm serious and they get mad at me and say I'm racist. I'll be like, well, what's the joke? And they'd say some racist joke and be like, that's pretty edgy. Do you know why that joke? Why do you find that joke funny? And they're like, well, yeah, because it's funny. Like, I don't know, just any racist joke. I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. And they'd be like, yeah, but it's funny because it's true. And it's like, is it though? Like, the ideology behind that. So let's say it's a joke about black people committing crime, and they say, yeah, black people commit more crime. And I say, okay, well, why is that? And they're like, I don't know. You explain the socioeconomic reasons behind why black people commit more crime, and you find out it's actually a pretty dark reason, history of slavery and oppression throughout America. And the joke kind of starts to get less funny when you realize all the real life trauma and reasons behind these things. Generally explaining the reasons why that kind of language is harmful is probably a better idea than scolding them for it. And usually once they have a fair understanding, they might start to become more receptive to other ideas. This is a very similar discussion to when you're dealing with a child and you make a rule. It's way and you give the child this rule and they break the rule and you wonder why they break the rule, but you didn't give them a reason why the rule is there. People want to know why they should believe a certain thing.
See, like, I have converted some white people as far as the Bernie Sanders supporters. Um, what I can sense is they don't really talk to people of color. So if anybody in the audience, if you wanna turn your racist white family members or friends, let them listen to black music, watch black artwork. I
Yeah,
would I would say get your hair cut by a black person. Just do things like get your hair cut by a black person. Go to a Mexican barber shop. Stuff like that. It's the real. It won't cost you nothing. Like, you just do stuff like that. Like I say, bro, I want less white people to be racist because I first think the battle to get to socialism is simply a racist issue, because I think once you see all humans as one species, then of course you want to help us. Of course you
not
want to make.
not necessarily. Tankies and like class reductionists and Nazguls exist, so that's not necessarily true. But generally, if you're going to be a socialist, you care about the well-being of people, and if you care about the well-being of people, you're not going to be racist. I do think Nazguls are a pretty small a number, but I do want to clarify that, and I agree with that. I agree that there has been a lot of studies that show that when you watch TV or you watch media, you form a parasocial relationship with those characters. So when you watch a show like, there was a really good video about this by the Alt-Right Playbook. If you watch a show like Fresh Off the Boat, or one of my favorite shows, Everybody Hates Chris, if you're like a racist white dude who watches Everybody Hates Chris and you watch the whole show, you're going to form a parasocial relationship with those characters. It's going to be hard to hate black people, you know? So I think it's probably a good idea to encourage racist white people to watch to watch content and media, you know, that has people, non-white people in it.
Yeah, like I said, I pig, like another thing, Vosh had told me, it kind of stuck with me, right? I thought he was joking, but I now I know he's for real. Do you believe this? Do you think that people are going on Twitter, right? They are seeing negative Twitter posts, and then immediately they turn into ethno-nationalists or fascists. Do you think that's happening? Do you think they're that fragile, that is that flimsy, that applied any pressure, the slightest minuscule pressure will turn to that? Do you think this is the case for a lot of people?
I mean, not really. Also, thank you for the tier 1 gift and sub down the bed gaming. How's the chatter? Good meme. Not necessarily. I think the average person, like if we take the average centrist gamer bro white dude, they probably have a lot of presuppositions that they get when they think of, feminism or Black Lives Matter or something, just from the media they consume. So if you're like a white dude and you turn on the TV, you turn on the news, and let's say this is around the time when some like black kid got murdered by a fucking cop for no reason, and now there's a lot of riots and shit, and Black Lives Matter is protesting. The news, since it's very sensationalist, is going to show you a lot of images of like Black Lives Matter or just protesters in general, like breaking windows and destroying shit. And so then you get the idea in your head, even if it's not true, just because of this bias, that black people are violent, or that BLM is like a terrorist organization. These are ideas that get kind of instilled in your mind. Same goes for Antifa by the sensationalist news that you might see. And so if you're on Twitter and stuff like that, and you see things like the example that you use, like, stuff like that, you're probably going to be way more receptive to white nationalist ideology. But it's more of a death by a thousand cuts thing than just, oh, you saw one example and now you're a fucking Nazi, you know?
Another thing that I know you extremely familiar with, I think one of the things that anybody on the internet has been on is extremely familiar with, that is blasted all over, but nobody really talks about it in mainstream, is the race realism. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That to me, I feel, because I take a step back as a black person, I'd be like, oh man, if I am going to attack you, if I am going to rape your kids or wife, why would you want to be around me? I think that is the number one thing that people should be getting at, because if it is true, like I can kind of see, like, I grew up in segregated schools, and yeah, at my schools there was a lot of toxic masculinity. A lot of kids on parents, they in jail, war on drugs, and I never thought about it like this. Like, we fight, and I've seen multiple people shot. I never thought one time of biology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can come up with the reason, legacy of slavery, stuff like this. But now that I'm on the internet and I realized that, man, I didn't know this many people. I know I live in Alabama. I knew a lot of people, but I didn't know just worldwide. This is people really, I'm talking about really fucking, this is something that they like religiously believe,
Mm-hmm.
that blacks are genetically prone to violence, incapable of complex thought. Like, I've been thinking about this lately, man. It's really,
So
it bugs me.
a lot of what you're listing here literally just has a lot to do with ignorance. Race realism is an idea completely founded in ignorance. Every single example that a race realist would bring up to say that, oh, black people are inherently violent or like genetically predisposed to blah, 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 can be explained through socioeconomics. There's always an explanation for it that can be given. The issue is they don't know that explanation. Generally, if somebody is acting in good faith, usually you can explain it to them and they'll understand. When I was a reactionary and watching a Destiny debate with JonTron when I heard about socioeconomic stuff for the first time, I'd never considered the fact that, hey, slavery may have been hundreds of years ago, But maybe the effects of that are still affecting black people today. Maybe the effects of redlining and segregation from only a couple generations ago is still affecting black people today. I'd never really considered that just because I'd never had someone explain it to me so elegantly and in a way that made sense to me, in a way that didn't feel preachy or offensive to me, I guess. Offensive to my fragile white ego, you know? Which, yeah, white people can be very fragile, and they can have a very fragile ego.
Anybody can be fragile, you know?
Yeah, but generally white people, when it comes to race issues, have a very fragile ego.
I understand why.
And so I find that to be a race realist, you also have to be very ignorant, and someone needs to explain, and it might just take a reasonable explanation of socioeconomics to a reasonable person who may have fallen down the rabbit hole of race realism to get out of that ideology.
This is my approach, right? I remember a guy, you know, I have a math degree, and a guy, when I was in the math department, this guy, he walked up to me. He didn't fully say it, because I was having a problem with this math subject. He was like, and I put it like this, it was very few black people in the math department, very few. And he was like, why do you think that? And I said, why do you think that? And he couldn't say it, but he basically, I asked him, I said, do you think it's, you know, genetics? He said, well, you can't throw it out. So a lot of people really believe this, like educated people. And how I talked to him was, I would say, well, what can they do? What can you think? Can they count? Can they read? Like, how far can they go? I think they talk about it in such an abstract way. You know, like, well, what can blacks? What's the limits of blacks? What you think they can read? What can they do? Algebra? What can they build something? You know what I'm saying? Talk about it. Make it seem real. Put materialistic to it. Like, are you saying what? Because how far? Like, what are you saying? Blacks can't do what? What is the Did you believe in this? What did you think? Like, what did you think? Like, did you ever?
So when I was a reactionary, the ideas that I had been told and that I believed essentially mounted up to there is no legal discrimination that you can point out against black people nowadays. I mean, you can't. Redlining's not a thing anymore. Segregation's not a thing anymore. Slavery's not a thing anymore, at least under the law, except for prisons. That's legal slavery. And so for the most part, from a surface level, as like a middle-class white dude, I had no experiences that would tell that kind of made me believe that maybe black people had it worse in society, particularly because with my shitty Florida education. Yeah, because I was ignorant.
Especially, do you understand? Did you live in like an all-white community? Did they go to school, black people?
Growing up, I was pretty poor, but by the time I was like 10 years old, I was mostly like middle class. So I didn't have a lot of memories of like being in like a low-income area. And so
Did you grow up around black people? Saying that you like grow up around black people? Did you go to school with black people?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, but for the most part, but they were mostly like middle-class black people because I lived in a middle-class area. The issue is, you know, most black people, from my understanding, are poor, unfortunately. And I didn't know why this would be, right? I had my shitty fucking Florida education where it's like they taught us that the Civil War was about states' rights, that kind of shit. A state's right to what, though? And so I was just ignorant. I didn't know better. I was just a fucking white dude who, like a 17-year-old white dude who didn't know about socioeconomics. They don't teach you that kind of shit in school, especially not in Florida. And so when I looked at things on a surface level, which is what most people are willing to look at, especially if they're sort of a centrist, if they look at an issue like this on surface level, they can't really point to anything legally that may make blacks feel discriminated or that discriminate against black people, right? You know, like most people don't think of like, there was a study. Yeah, there's studies about people with black names getting their resumes and applications passed over more when seeking employment. That's an example. But most people don't know about that. Most like middle-class white kids don't know about that. They look at like the law, like the same thing with feminism. They think, oh, women can vote, women can get a job, black people can vote, black people can get a job, slavery's not a thing, segregation's not a thing. They don't think that deep into it. They need to have somebody to explain it to them. and it needs to be explained to them in a way that isn't off-putting. Usually being preachy or aggressive is generally pretty off-putting, but if you are appealing in this type of humor that they might like, the type of delivery they might like, they're probably way more likely to be receptive to those ideas, to leftist ideas, to non-race realist ideas. This is why we see that like Bill Nye the Science Guy was so popular teaching kids science because he did it in an entertaining and an engaging way, but those same kids will probably be super bored and might not do well in a science class where their teacher is just lecturing them in front of a whiteboard, writing, formulas and equations up on the whiteboard.
Yeah, that's what like I've been thinking, right? You still there?
Mm-hmm. I'm here. I'm chilling.
Oh, okay. What I see, I've been thinking about this lately. Do I want to go make video? I probably won't. Maybe I will, but because I do feel like, okay, because I feel you making it kind of seem easy because on the outside looking in, right? See, like I live around what you call the hood, right? And I've been seeing stuff all my life, right? But I'm starting to see how a lot of white people can see this because it's so far away from them, right? Like I went to segregated schools, and it's so far away. Like when you turn on the news and you're seeing all these young black men dying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to realize that what I'm thinking is not what they're thinking about the situation. Is totally different, and I think that is I'm worried, bro, because I'm starting to really. I said, damn, they not thinking what I'm thinking. They thinking it's all genetics. It's all you said. I remember you said the warrior gene. That's why recently I heard some of my Twitter followers brought this up to me. The warrior gene. I didn't even really know this. I'm saying, okay, the warrior gene. Sam Harris, it's the war on drugs. That's why I was going on in Mexico, going on Chicago, going on St. Louis. That's the reason why, and I feel that because like if I okay, because the numbers are horrible. Okay, like if I have some white guy from John Tron or Sargon come up to you, pig, and say, well, hold up, pig, 1,000 black people got shot in Chicago. That's so astronomical compared to where I live. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's because you don't live in the area they're not bringing drugs to your neighborhood. They're not having war on drugs. It's not a systemic setup game. So I don't know. I don't know how you would approach that, man. Because I'm thinking to myself, like, it's difficult. Because I'm saying, even
I mean, so that's the thing, though. I feel I kind of have a responsibility as somebody who has the platform to argue against this kind of stuff and appeal to people who, like, if I can appeal to a race realist and I can explain to them that race realism is bullshit and here is why, and a detailed explanation as to why, I have a platform that can do that, so I feel I have a responsibility to do so. So I spend a significant amount of my time doing research about this. If I'm not streaming, I'm generally listening to like debates on these topics, particularly like race realism, socioeconomics, things like that, so I can learn more and improve my rhetorical skills. I basically spend every moment I'm not sleeping or streaming researching this kind of shit, and it does require constant research. Like, you have to spend a lot of time learning about this stuff in order to be able to think on your feet and retort to any Nazi or race realist or reactionaries arguments when you're in a debate. And it's not easy, but I feel in my position, I kind of have a responsibility to do so, and I don't think everyone has that responsibility. That's why I do it.
All right, let me ask you, like, pig. So, are you a socialist, or do you what do you classify?
I'd say I'm a market socialist.
Do you do you feel do you feel comfortable that you know about it really well, or if somebody walked up to you and say, "Hey, bro, what's socialist?" You think you could have that conversation with them?
Yeah, I feel like I could probably convince the average person that market socialism is reasonable. Usually, like, I could probably even get a reactionary to agree to it. Well, that's the markets thing, though. You know, reactionaries like markets. And so I mean, I could explain it to you right now, but I think I can probably bread pill the average person just on the street on market socialism.
Well, yeah, pig. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. You're a lot different from Vosh, but um, Yeah, man. Do you think right now, going in 2020, do you think this is having an impact? Do you think I play this? Do you think more whites are going reactionary or more whites are going to the left?
Okay, so this is a complicated question because not every white, like most white people, probably aren't active in like political spaces on YouTube. But regardless of that, we are seeing a rise in the popularity of fascism in the United States, mostly perpetuated by young white people. I mean, you've seen the fucking white boys shooting up Christchurch, shooting up San Diego. They shot up a synagogue in San
Walmart.
Diego, shot up the El Paso Walmart shooter kid. We are seeing a rise in violent fascism. It's getting popular. And I do think, I mean, if you read these little shits manifestos, I mean, they're making they're doing 4chan memes and shit. So obviously, this rabbit hole was responsible for radicalizing them, or at least facilitating their beliefs and helping them spread it. So I do think we are seeing a rise in fascism. However, at the same time, we're seeing Breadtube, or leftist ideas on online in general, getting big for the first time in a long time. I would say the end of 2017 was when it started to bud and sprout up, like actual like leftist ideas. I mean, prior to that, it was like the largest lefty creators were like Riley J. Dennis and Milo Stewart, who were like relentlessly shit on by reactionaries and taken out of context and shit like that. And like Milo Stewart has 30,000 YouTube subs. Like, I wouldn't really say that was leftist ideas on YouTube being really massive. No shade towards Milo Stewart, by the way. That was just they were just one of the largest leftist or lefty figures online prior to 2017. But towards the end of 2017, we saw Destiny do the beginning of 2017, we saw Destiny do the JonTron debate, which got really big. We saw a lot of these different figures blowing up. We saw Philosophy Tube start making political content that was very appealing. We started seeing ContraPoints get big. H Bomber Guy, Sean, Three Arrows. All these figures started to grow, and now we're seeing in 2019, we saw a bunch of new Breadtube channels kind of sprout up, and now in 2020, we've seen quite the Breadtube community get established, and now we're kind of moving in the direction of growing. You know, I've gained like 4,200 subs in the last month, which is pretty insane. Breadtube is definitely growing, so I do think what we're doing is helping, but it's very similar to I like to compare reactionary ideologies to weeds in a garden. We're the weed killer. The problem is there will always be more weeds than the weed killer. So we're essentially at this point where we're trying to fight an enemy that outnumbers us and that grows like a fungus or like a weed. And so I think on this, from what I've seen so far, we're definitely making progress, but it's going to require more growth.
All I was, one thing, P, I probably agree with you on majority everything. On my, you gonna not buff, gonna probably not see eye to eye on this. I don't see the point. I do not see the point. I'm a big into language. I don't see the point of continually spread this narrative that left leaning people are this emotional train wreck. They are that they are woke, scold, and cancel and everybody. Cause it's like this. I don't know. I seen like George Lopez. He said a joke about Trump, right, or whatever. Literally conservatives with a million plus followers are literally calling for the FBI to arrest him, right?
Mm-hmm.
When 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 the difference of size is that astronomical, but we're claiming it as a cancel culture, we're feeding into them. And you gotta don't you see this, that okay, you right wingers, the same people who literally believe fucking Obama wasn't born in America, fucking that vaccines are fake, when they're saying that this woke scolding is true, we don't have to believe it. We can say we don't have to continue this language. We could just say annoying assholes. Next question. Because I can literally see a lot of Nas bowls arising at this, because at the end of the day, the end of cancel culture and woke scolding is the claim that non-white people are after white people. It happened with the atheist community and the skeptic community. And I when they continue in this rhetoric, claiming that because when you put it in, when you think about it, when people read, because I can, if I was John Tron or Sargon the card, right? right? I would say, man, why would you want to go talk around black and gays or whatever? They're just gonna cancel you. Don't you see Vosh, Pig, everybody else saying it's real? It's real, man. I'm saying it's real too. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Why I don't.
All right. So when I talk about woke scolds, I know this is the case when Vosh talks about them too. We're talking about people who act in bad faith, generally, like the people who are still going after ContraPoints after her new video. Are I would consider woke scolds. I think if you've watched that whole video and you still want to go after her, I have very little respect for those people.
I ain't fuck with it, but whatever, man. Like she's whatever.
Have you watched the video?
Yeah, I watched it, man. I knew I was the Twitter people about this long time ago. That I can see it evolve into this really big thing because it happened with the atheist community, skeptic community. It's gonna really build up to the point that people say, "Well, damn, the only people doing the woke scolding and canceling are blacks, gays." So it's saying, you know what I'm saying? It's
yeah, but the people they're canceling are also members of social minority groups.
They didn't. Okay, Pig. Your audience probably gonna get on me, but Pig, seriously, man. Canceling means discontinued. What people are doing, they're assholes on Twitter. Like I told Vosh, he says that he said that he said that I'm covering for online harassment. That's not the clue. Online harassment is true. Me and you know this. What's the point? You could call, like they call immigration or white genocide. They call separation of church and state war on Christmas. You could say online harassment, had an issue of online harassment. It's not sensational. It does not feed into the right-wing narrative. But I understand that a lot of if the point is to bring, if you're trying to bring in reactionaries with that, okay, I get it. But I'm sensing y'all really believing this is like for real. You really think there's a cancel culture on the left, bro? You really believe? Are you worried about the cancel culture? Are you worried it happened to you? Are you worrying it?
I mean, I don't care much about cancel culture happening to me. I have pretty thick skin. I mean, if some random person online calls me a transphobe when I'm literally not, or like takes some quote of mine out of context in order to try to label me as something I'm not, like I had one guy do it that like clipped a message I'd posted publicly in my Discord and like made sure to clip out any of the context of it, so it was just my message to make me look like a transphobe. If someone's gonna do that, I'm just gonna call them like a stupid cunt and like block them. So I don't care about it. The reason why I think cancel culture is a problem.
So
the reason why I think it's a problem, though, is because most figures who get canceled, it really only affects people who don't have thick skin and are part of the left, and that usually ends up being people who are parts of social minorities. I mean, if you're a trans person on the left and woke scolds are going after you, you probably don't have super thick skin. And if you have like dozens, sometimes hundreds of messages of people calling you a transphobe piece of shit and calling you all these horrible things, it's going to hurt, especially if you're trans or black or gay, anything like that. And so while it may not affect me and it may not affect Vosh or even so much, someone like ContraPoints, who is someone who publicly transitioned online and has dedicated her life's work to advocating for trans rights and defeating fascism, and that includes non-binary people as well. It can be really hard for somebody like that who is, you know, who publicly transitioned, who is being already going, you know, having people from like Kiwi Farms and 4chan and stuff going after her, doxing her, sending death threats, and you have a bunch of people who think that you're a transphobe from the other side coming at you and doing the same thing. And I've seen these Twitter threads. They're doing the same thing. I know how these people act. They engage in doxing. They harass the friends and the family of these people. Some of the woke scolds were going after ContraPoint's family and friends. That's really fucked up.
Online harassment. Harassers.
Yeah, it's
online
harassment.
Harassers. Woke scold doesn't even have to be safe. You know what I'm saying? But you get that the woke scold, do you understand, right? That just like the SJ, I don't know, how old are you, like 19 or something, 18?
I'm 20. I just turned 20 a couple months ago.
Are you familiar with the SJ PC of culture? We only talk about political correctness. Are you familiar with that terminology?
Yeah, I am.
It's not even spoken no more. Now it's woke scolds. You can see.
No, it's still, trust me. Just I used to think the same thing. It's just because we're in different communities. You don't spend a lot of time in like these like reactionary like centrist gamer bro communities. They still use SJW and whatnot a lot. I've yet to see woke scold besides from Ben Shapiro be used by a reactionary. They still use SJW and like feminazi and shit like that. It's generally, you're going to be in dirtbag leftist spaces is when you hear woke scold. I've never heard it from a reactionary.
I can help in this instance. If you want to see prime examples of people using SJW and stuff, still, go check out like some posts on r/fragile white redditor. A lot of redditors still use that fucking terminology.
And you never hear them saying woke scold. Thank you, Chad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why I'm saying, but like, do you think is that necessary? What I'm starting to is like I was talking to Peter Coughlin, right? I was with them. We were doing video and stuff, right? And I said, man, cancel culture is bullshit. They completely cut me off, right? I'm saying, damn, is that serious? Is that serious? We gotta say it, right? It has to be said. Woke scold, cancel culture has to be screened out. I literally seen a video, a clip, right? Of Vosh literally claiming that the people who talking bad about ContraPoints a low IQ subhuman degenerate who the only reason, right? The only reason why people will have a problem with Natalie Wynn is they want social capital. Right?
Yeah, generally that's what it seems to be.
This is a conspiracy theory, man. Come on, this is a conspiracy theory.
No, I mean, have you seen their posts? They say things like, if you still follow ContraPoints, that transphobic true scum piece of shit, you can unfollow me. I'm not going to give up my own morals, my own dignity to even be friends with anybody who still has any respect for ContraPoints. Like, if you can out woke one of the most woke people on YouTube, then you're going to get a lot of social credit. I mean,
I'm a woke motherfucker myself, but I mean, how did that person gain social capital? It reminds me of when Donald Trump, he looks in the audience when people protesting him. He says, the only reason y'all protesting me is because you're paid. It's like criticism is impossible of me. I'm so much this.
No, I made one of the most popular criticism videos of ContraPoints on the internet. Like, you can look at it right now. It's got like tens of thousands of views. It was shared around Breadtube a lot.
Trying to get social capital?
No, I made a comprehensive good faith criticism of ContraPoints, and people agreed this is a good faith criticism of ContraPoints. And every single thing I brought up in my video, ContraPoints apologized for in hers, which makes me think either she agreed that those were things she did that she should apologize for, or she saw my video and agreed with it. Regardless, there are good criticisms you can make of ContraPoints. There are plenty. I made them. However, saying that she is a true scum when she is not, saying that she is NB-phobic when she is not, listing all of these different things that are just not true about her, and then engaging in harassment and acting in bad faith, but like refusing to watch her video where she acknowledges these criticisms, for example, that is being a woke scold. You are acting in bad faith.
So you feel that that word is necessary to use. We could not use a word.
We could make up a new one, but generally making up a new word and making it popular requires a massive social movement. It's kind of difficult to do that alone as one person.
Like Vosh be like, you libtard, woke scold. I'll be like, I get you, bro.
I mean, Vosh has used libtard one time, and it was when referring to Destiny.
I mean, look, I understand he's a socialist. Like I say, I get it. On the outside looking in, I can get why this issue is so cherished, because it is it comes from like a reactionary side that hates, everybody, they say it, right? Like George Lopez, you have conservatives calling for his head, literally for his head. He couldn't say cancel culture. He couldn't say woke scolding, because if people say, what you talking about? It's only used to describe one side, one group of people that is quote unquote socially progressive people, woke or whatever they want to call them. And I'm saying these people, I mean, if I don't understand why we have to demonize them too, because if you're thinking about it, all this rhetoric about we gotta accept imperfect people, which I'm cool with, but I don't see that accepting imperfect people being that olive branch being extended to the quote unquote woke scolds. Are they redeemable?
They can be. I mean, there was Cinny, who is one of my best friends, kind of almost fell down the woke scold rabbit hole, if you want to call it that. criticized, like they were doing some really bad faith criticisms towards ContraPoints. I ended up debating them, and they since changed their mind. And it was actually pretty funny how it happened. They were on Twitter, and there was a woke scold who was like me, like, you know, screaming at me on Twitter and saying that I'm a piece of shit because I don't, and I'm transphobic because I don't have my pronouns in my bio. And I tried to argue, well, I can't put my pronouns in my bio. I don't have room. This is my business Twitter account. Like, I used up the character limit, putting in, like, all my links to my shit. So, like, sponsors and business people who want to contact me for business inquiries can contact me. And they just, like, went off on me instead of, like, giving, like, a decent argument. Now, Sydney is extremely reasonable, and they were like, yeah, you should have your pronouns in your bio. It's good to normalize your pronouns in your bio, even if you're cis. And I agree with that. But the person who was going after me, the woke scold, was just accusing me of being a transphobe. Didn't even give me the benefit of the doubt when I tried to give a very reasonable explanation. Funny thing is, though, Sydney was a bit too charitable to me in the tweets. And even though Sydney was on this person's side, ended up getting... Cine ended up getting attacked by this woke scold. They just went after Cine like really hard out of nowhere, and it pushed Cine away. Cine was like, "What the fuck?" And they were like really that was, it changed their mind more than me talking to them could. And so this is where I seem to find an issue here. It's not only off-putting to people from the outside, but it's also so bad faith. We on the left don't have to be in bad faith in order to and act in bad faith in order to make our points and to be good people. We can point out racism and sexism and misogyny and transphobia and all these things in the world without doing it from bad faith. Like
what if it is bad? I'm saying this point I'm looking at as coming from a liberal side. Like I'm trying to bring liberals in too.
Mm-hmm.
And like my sister was watching a lot of leftist content recently, and she was like, "Damn, why they all acting like right wingers?" And I said, "Yeah," I said they not really not that good with liberal outreach. Cause I'm like, she's like, what they all talking about, woke school and bullshit like that. I'm saying, yeah, I'm kind of like this. Okay, you people on the outside looking in will look at Leftube being friends with, cause I got TJ T1J coming on my show next couple weeks. I'm gonna try to bring him on to Leftube. You know, so I'm gonna try to bring him social, cause like I'm saying, he's saying that, man, y'all so nice with shoe on head and motherfucking fucking like Hunter Avalon and people like, and just it seems to be like, I like, you know, re-education was like, man, nah, I can't, you know, we shouldn't shame Trump supporters. It's like, okay, cool, but you can't say all that, right? Then go hard on quote unquote socially progressive people.
Yes, you can.
Like I'm saying,
because it's about whether or not they're acting in good faith. If somebody is a reasonable person who is acting in good faith, there's a very good chance that you can bring them over to the left.
Shu is acting in good faith. Shu is acting in good faith, but the woke scold's not. The woke scold's not, though.
Shu was acting in good faith. Woke scolds do not act in good faith. They literally refuse to watch the video that ContraPoints made and say if it's not an apology, it's not worth watching, and then continue to harass her and harass her friends, try to dox her family, harass her online.
Whoa, I didn't say doxing. Doxing, no, that's online harassment. I'm saying they say they go on Twitter.
Yeah, woke scolds engage in online harassment.
Oh, I said that's online harassment. Okay, let's say I'm on Twitter, right? I'm a person on Twitter. I got like 20 followers, and I'm like, man, ContraPoints is a piece of shit, right? That's all I be tweeting all day. Mm-hmm. But I'm a socialist. I want, you know, Medicare for all universal programs. Do we accept them people?
Someone who tweets that damn ContraPoints is a piece of shit?
Yeah, they tweet bad faith. Or they accept them. Can we accept them? Can we say we can bring them in?
I mean,
like
if they're bad faith, then it'd be difficult. I mean, you have to convince them not to be bad faith. My issue isn't with
socialists.
But they're
so everything they good on, but just on this they don't like ContraPoints. They don't like them. They don't for whatever reason.
Yeah, no, my friend Cyberwitch Lexi doesn't like ContraPoints, but her reasons for not liking her are good faith. Her criticisms
Let's say they
bad
faith. Whatever. They don't give they bad faith. Well, they bad faith.
I don't.
Whatever
then I would not feel like I could appeal to those people. I don't appeal to bad faith Nazis. I don't think that anybody who operates in bad faith and isn't reasonable is worth reaching out to. The people who are bad faith, and I've said this already, are the people who I say are better off dead. and the world would be better without them.
At
The
all.
people,
Yeah, you think the people who make bad fake Christians about ContraPoint are better off?
people who make all of their arguments and tailor their ideologies around bad and argue in bad faith, people like Nick Fuentes, who you could provide every single bit of evidence that contradicts his worldview in the world, and he would just smile and laugh smugly and keep advocating for like killing Jews and shit like that, and Holocaust denial. Yes, I think those people are bad faith and are probably better off dead.
Yeah, I probably send them out to the gulag. But
In Minecraft,
like,
I'm on
do
Twitch.
you think PewDiePie?
Mm-hmm.
How you feel about PewDiePie, man?
I think he's fucking stupid, and I'm extremely
Oh,
Yeah.
you don't think PewDiePie
Mm-hmm.
is seriously making the effort to push right-wing ideology? You don't believe that? You gonna
No,
sit there?
I don't think he's making an effort to push right-wing ideology. I don't think he's making enough of an effort to disavow the Nazis in his audience. I think
He literally have videos where he's wearing neo-Nazi memorabilia. He's playing the theme song of the of Nazi Germany, shit that he got to look into to find. He's doing all this. He's retweeting Holocaust dials over and over. He keep on his Twitter, he was following nothing but neo-Nazis. And you're saying that, just the idiot. You really don't think that man is making a serious effort? Man, like 30 years old.
I mean, trust me, if he wanted to make a serious effort to red pill his audience into being Nazis, he could do a way better job. What I will say, though, is that in the past, I mean, we've seen he's only gone out like straight up about his political ideologies a few times, and every time he's done that, like just espousing his political opinions, they've been anti-racist. Particularly, there's a quote that Hassan on his show on TYT brought up. It was a clip of PewDiePie essentially debunking the Great Replacement conspiracy back in like 2014 before it was even popularized. He did it on his podcast they used to have way back in the day. Anytime he's ever overtly talked about his political ideology, it's been quite left-leaning and anti-racist. The issue I have with PewDiePie is willful ignorance, as a new Mosaic in chat said. It's very difficult for somebody to and I understand this not so much with PewDiePie, more so with Seanhead, to make a large political statement publicly and to not get any shit for it. I personally think it would probably be worth it to disavow the neo-Nazis and to get all like the reactionaries to unsub. But when it's your entire livelihood, I can't understand why you may be a little bit apprehensive, but at the same time, I get really pissed off at PewDiePie for not doing it. I still think PewDiePie should probably dedicate a significant amount of effort to disavowing the Nazis in his audience, and I pray for the day that he makes a video where he just shits all over the neo-Nazis and shit.
It's not gonna happen because, to be honest with you, like your audience, I'm trying to tell your audience, I put my life on it, put my family's life. Like, I'm that certain this man's a neo-Nazi. I know neo-Nazis.
I would bet my life that he's not a neo-Nazi.
Like,
I don't.
Not you, man. You need to go find that grave site because it is a you. I'm
quite every time he's ever come out publicly about his political opinions, it has been the polar opposite of actual neo-Nazism. I understand he like made like some really fucking like edgy jokes and shit, and he's been very irresponsible, but those were the same kind of things I said and did when I was a liberal.
So like when you was a liberal, you would advocate to your fan base a YouTuber that's a Holocaust denier. That just slipped. It just slipped him. He just didn't even see it. He just whoopsie.
I mean, it's possible if I didn't know they were Holocaust denier.
In the world. I didn't know it.
So
he just it's on his front page of the YouTube. Like he would just it would be so. Well, basically, PewDiePie is the most ignorant man in the history of the world. I'm getting to because I did a video on this. I studied this guy. Did like a 5-minute video, and throughout the years, what you would have to claim with PewDiePie, right? He's the most ignorant man in the history of the world.
I wouldn't say that. No, I think most people are really fucking.
Or just a neo-Nazi.
So here's the thing. So the reason why I don't necessarily believe PewDiePie is a Nazi is because it's very easy for people to fall for this ideology. The reason why white nationalism and neo-Nazism has become so popular recently is because they did a massive rebrand of their ideology. It's very, very easy to package white racism in a way that seems appealing to people, and they don't even realize it's racism, and for them to fall for it. I definitely think it's possible that PewDiePie is not able to pick up on the dog whistles that people like Lauren Southern and Ben Shapiro and whatnot, the people that he followed and platformed, espouse. I think it's definitely very possible that he hasn't picked up on them, because most people don't. It's why people like Nick Fuentes and even Richard Spencer, before those logs leaked, or that voice chat or whatever leaked of him screaming about gassing the Jews. I think it's why they were so popular. They aren't like dudes with shaved heads, skinheads with swastika tattoos on their necks marching through the streets. They're well-dressed, tall, groomed like suit-wearing white dudes with like a very no accent, like a very monotone-ish, I don't know what the word is, a very respectable accent that speak articulate their words very well. They repackaged white nationalism in a very, very appealing way. And I think that's why so many people were willing to fall for that. They fall for the dog whistles. They fall for that shit.
He literally did a video. He literally did a video that he said that we need to make the world great by exterminating all the Jews. Then he started laughing. I said, okay.
He didn't make a video about that. He did a video where he paid some dudes on Fiverr to say.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about we talking about so many other cases. Like I said, it's not. It's just go on YouTube, type in PewDiePie Nazi compilation.
Oh my god, are you making me defend PewDiePie, dude? Come on. Like, I've literally seen every instance of of controversy around PewDiePie, because I cover it every time it happens. And I give my take every time it happens. I know every instance of this happening. Trust me, I know a neo-Nazi when I see one. PewDiePie probably isn't a neo-Nazi. I would bet that he's not. What I think he is a useful idiot for neo-Nazis.
He's the right winger. Would you say a right wing? Would you at least say a right wing?
I would say that he's probably socially pretty progressive, and but yeah, I mean, I think socially he's probably pretty progressive, like just sort of like an apolitical liberal.
Platform Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro.
I mean, Jordan Peterson became popular originally, or is popular with most people probably for his self-help stuff. I mean, he recommended his self-help book. And then Ben Shapiro joined Meme Review because he's a popular figure. Like, there's reasonable explanations for it. It's mostly the fact, like, what it irks me so much is that PewDiePie is I was never a fan of PewDiePie variant. My main issue with PewDiePie, personally, is that he has the platform to reach out to other large public figures and platform them further. Ben Shapiro is an extremely popular meme among gamer bros. The whole, like, dear liberals, blah, blah, blah thing. So that's why we saw we also got people like Elon Musk and the guy who made Rick and Morty also on Meme Review. So there's that. There's the fact that Nazi ideology is hard to understand, and so it's dog whistled a lot, and it's really hard to pick up on those dog whistles. Like, there's a lot of explanations there. It's definitely possible. I entertain the idea that he might be like a neo-Nazi.
No, entertaining it, yeah.
No, but I think it's way more likely that he's just a useful idiot. I would bet my life that he's a useful idiot, because that's how sure I am in terms of the chances. I would say it's probably like a 80% chance. 20% chance he's a neo-Nazi, 80% he's not. He's just a useful idiot.
All of my family and friends who are aware of PewDiePie, we all like, I showed them just a clip, and they all like, oh, of course. But yeah, man. I appreciate you for bringing me on, man. Before I go out, man, I do poetry, right? I'm gonna give you this poem I wrote, man. All right. It's called "My Boss Gets on My Nerves."
Okay.
My name tag and uniform is not a license to treat me like shit. I'm not some dog that you can tell when to stand or sit. Okay. Ruling over employees give bosses one hell of a dopamine hit. Fake smiling around my boss to consider the fact I really want to yell, shout, and throw a fit. Boss has a superiority complex. Any worker is stretching his or her luck like it's spandex, not bound down to boss man's muscle flex. You would definitely end up on the chopping block next. Following orders from this motherfucker takes up majority of my day. And work is a straight dictatorship. Nobody asks me what I got to say. Boss demands obedience, but I want to do things my way. 1,000 words can describe my boss. None of those words are nice. Gotta move quick when boss calls my name. He doesn't want to have to say it twice. Putting up with this asshole has my emotional well-being paying the price. The urge to go off on my boss is so strong. This feeling ain't nothing new. I've been wanting to sing this song. I hate to admit it, but I'm forced to swallow my pride. Get on my knees and kiss the man's boss backside. I'm not the only worker worldwide. Many workers tolerate disrespect in order to provide.
That's pretty good. I like it. May the proletariat rise up.
All right, man.
So I mean, like, just to wrap up, I want to say that I generally have tried as of recent to distance myself from talking about woke scolds because I do think it's like they don't really last very long because there's only so long that you can turn on the largest public figures in leftism and like demonize them before just the rest of the left sort of ostracizes you and they go off into their own corners of the internet because they're very much they like to throw a few rocks, they'll dox you, they'll scream at you, they'll harass you online, but the instant you start to retort back to them personally, they get scared, they block you, they block all your followers, and they just sort of hide in their own corners of the internet. So I do think they're just sort of going to die in irrelevancy because anyone who
Yeah,
identifies
online harassment is not gonna die, my friend.
well, no, the woke scolds will die off. Not literally,
I
but
told
their
you, like I
ideology.
said, to me, I think, like I said, we want boogeyman character that nobody could actually put their finger on, touch in materialistic terms. It's a boogeyman character like the.
Well, I mean, no, they're very tangible. You can go on Twitter right now and look up ContraPoints and scroll down a little bit. So yeah, so the reason why, but that's my reasoning. I don't really see myself railing on woke scolds too much anymore on video, at least. Maybe on Twitter if they comment. Most of what I've been doing lately is just like when they comment something saying like I don't know, Pig Puncher is transphobic. I'll take I'll do the little thing with like a ContraPoints formula that the woke scolds use, where like you take a true statement, then you abstract it, and then you essentialize it. So you like for Vosh as an example, people call Vosh a rapist. So you say
Racist.
no, they call him the rapist is the
Oh.
best one. I'll go with that one for now. They'll say okay, so this is what happened. Vosh sent some really creepy DMs and was really pushy with a girl in Discord DMs a couple years ago. That's what happened. You abstract that to Vosh sexually harassed a girl on Discord. Technically what happened, but, you know, oversimplified. And then you essentialize that to Vosh as a sexual predator. So I usually just, I use that formula when responding to woke scolds, and it gets them mad and they block me and
It's
I don't
like,
have to deal with them anymore.
While I say pig, a lot of people, I talk to a lot of black and Hispanic YouTubers, right? They be telling me, man, that you're a white supremacist, Vosh a white supremacist. And I say, nah, man, I don't think they're one. I don't know what's there deep and down. They are pushing socialism. They seem to be, they're saying that they're for racial advocacy. But I tell them, man, I said they're coming from a reactionary background. And how they speak.
Well, PewDiePie, or not PewDiePie, Vosh, I don't believe was a reactionary. Vosh has been a leftist since he was like 15 years old.
He told me he used to be one, and he said he used to be like a libertarian or something.
Yeah, maybe when he was like maybe when he was 13 or 15, he was a libertarian, but I wouldn't consider that to be as reactionary as I was, at least. But I don't know.
They telling me that he's a white supremacist. I said, look, a lot of people say, man, don't. But I say, I think you more than Vosh. I can see where you're coming from. I sense the real. I mean, I don't. That woke school shit is bullshit. But like I said, I agree with everything else you do. We're not gonna agree on everything. I understand where you're coming from. But yeah, man, but I can see like me and you, we disagree about cancel culture, but I still can work with you. I will still work with you. You know what I'm saying? I would still say, yo, watch Pig Punch, even though we heavily disagree on that cancel culture woke school narrative. I would agree with you, because I really believe in accepting imperfect people. I know I ain't gonna shit on Peter Coughlin and Angie Speaks. They don't fuck with me because I said cancel culture is bullshit. But hey man, I do accept imperfect people. I don't have to agree 100% on you. But some people when I talked to Vosh, they told me I hate white people. They was like, oh, you hate white people, this and that. Do hey man, if you claim, I'll say tell your audience, you claim and accept imperfect people, live by it, man. And that goes for all people. If you claim you accepting imperfect people, don't just use that to the right wingers, the liberals too. Because the liberal,
I feel I've been fairly consistent. It's not so much that I accept imperfect people; it's that I accept people who are good, who exist in good faith, who have reasonable mindsets. But if they're just unreasonable, if they're like someone who is in bad faith, like Nick Fuentes or your average woke scold, then I think there's no amount of reasonable argument that can convince them.
I
They're
ain't gonna
just
say this, but you not. I know you're not equipped to go with Nick Fuentes. Am I correct?
am I what?
Equivalent, making a equivalent equation between Nick Fuentes,
Nah, I
actual.
think I think Nick Fuentes, his existence is probably a lot more harmful than like that of a million woke scolds. I'm not trying to compare them as in their harm. I'm trying to compare them in their thought process. Nick Fuentes and the average woke scold are not reasonable people. You cannot produce any argument or reasonable or amount of data or anything that would make them change their mind. Nick Fuentes, if you provide him with any data that goes against his worldview, he'll just say it's a Jewish conspiracy, smile and laugh, and continue to gather his Graper boys and re at each other, right? And whatever his fucking fans do. With a woke scold, if you say, well, actually, if you see the whole context of this, if you see the whole context of my comrade Courtney banned me and unbanned me from my own chat. If you see the whole context of this random quote that you've posted that you purposefully cut, you can see that actually he wasn't saying that trans people are degenerate and blah, 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 and blah. And then those same people say, I don't care. I just don't like him. If he's not going to apologize for this, I don't care. And like really just like taking things out of context, being extremely overly uncharitable, trying to encourage people to not watch that content creator anymore is a big one. That may not sound like a big deal, but like it's fucking tough. When you see like a random like woke scold Twitter account with like 10,000 followers say, if you follow Pig Puncher or you watch his content, then I'm going to block you. And it's either me or him. Like I see that kind of shit all the time. And it's like, bro, and I get affected by that. Like I lose a few hundred subs when that happens.
Do you know Andrew Speaks? They said don't listen to me, but I wouldn't. I'm not gonna say they did this. I wouldn't say that. Just some people, whatever, man. That's how they feel. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say they counsel. They claim I'm a liberal. Even though I break down capitalism in a way that many YouTubers can't even touch us. But I'm not. People say bad stuff about me. I can't. I can't. I wish they didn't. I mean, from these people in your audience gonna claim, oh man, suck my opinions. He hate white people. He's a woke school. He gonna cancel me. But I mean, hey man, I think I speak clearly when I say it. But at the end of the day, man, I mean, oh yeah, I don't want that to happen to you or me. But I mean, like another thing, but Vosh, he's good at getting conservatives, man. That's his thing, conservative. Not everybody can reach out to liberals and conservatives. I can't reach out to conservatives. I'm a black dude, speaking with a accent like I'm a black dude. So I mean, not everybody can reach out to both sides, man. That's how I look at it now. Yeah, you can't do everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can't get the conservatives, then get the liberals. The liberals gonna come into your audience. They gonna be like, man, fuck all this, cause so. It ain't, and then the conservatives gonna come in your audience with liberals. They gonna be like, so I mean, you can't bring them all in. I want to, but in reality, I know I'm not. But yeah, man, it's all good though, man. Bye, bro. Man, do your thing, man.
Hey, man. Well, hopefully, me and Vosh, our work will help bring some liberals and conservatives and centrists a little further to the left, so people like you and ContraPoints and like the more for like and whatnot, more further left people, or more not so much further left people, the more not so dirtbag left people can pull them even further.
Oh, I'm dirtbag left now. I'm not. You watch my content. I'm pretty raw on my humor now. I'm edgy.
Yeah, I didn't know if you identified as dirtbag left or not. Sorry.
I wouldn't. I don't. I do make. I'm a leftist, but I do make real dark humor jokes about death and all kind of stuff. If you know what I'm saying. But yeah, man, if you can, bro, help a homie out, man. Yeah, because like end of the day, talent is not what's gonna win. I don't care what nobody says. It's people who can speak this stuff way better than both of us, but they homeless in jail. If you can help another YouTuber, I do. I help small YouTubers out. Cause man, cause bro, it's the game. It's against us, bro. They don't want us to win. If anybody, if you can, bro, help another YouTuber, I will continue, man. You know, cause we got cooperation rather than competition, man. That's how I look at it, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I generally, in my current biggest video on my channel, the one where I told the story of my political journey recently, I gave a shout outs to some smaller channels. I do think this is something that needs to be encouraged in Breadtube. I don't like that so many big Breadtubers seem to refrain from shouting out smaller Breadtubers. What I will say, though, is a lot of them use cancel culture as a reason because they don't want to shout out somebody who's controversial and then get
that, man.
in trouble.
Fuck that, man. You know, y'all go on my channel. I'm really good with the capitalism. I got a math degree. You know, I do poetry real hard. You know, and man, you watch my videos, you're gonna love it. And on my channel, man, I do help a lot of minority YouTubers out, Hispanic, blacks, Asians. You know, probably never seen. You know, if you give them a shout out too, man. I'm trying to build this movement as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? And I did a video with Ben Burgess. I did a video with people who work at Michael Brooks. You know, I'm trying to, bring everybody together if I can,
Nice. Well, hey, it's been really nice talking to you, and hopefully your channel gets even bigger and you blow up even more, and you get tons of subscribers, and I want Breadtube to grow. So
you too, man.
Yeah. Everyone check out SuckMyOpinion. You're on YouTube and Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Everyone go check out SuckMyOpinion, and other than that, I think that's everything.
Yeah, man. I'm finna dip out, man. All right, bro.
All right, have a good one, dude. See ya. This is why I hate the woke school debate. Like, he's a nice dude. I saw his debate with Vosh, and I think Vosh went in like way too aggressive. I like. That's why I prefer my own. That's why I prefer my own debate method to Vosh's. Like, watching Vosh is what I feel like doing when I want to see blood sports, but if I really want to get down and dirty and try to convince someone, that's when I want to debate. That's the way I want to debate. I want to convince people. Not that I dislike Vosh or anything, but I watched Vosh's debate with him, and it was like way too aggressive for my taste, although I can understand why. I think it's probably because Vosh has gotten like way more shit from like woke scolds canceling than I have, and so Vosh had more of an emotional attachment to it. But for me, it was just sort of like, yeah, I mean, they're really fucking annoying. They're bad. Comrade Courtney, that video is 1 billion miles up. I'll never see that. What I will do though, is I will leave a link to the stream that I'm about to appear on in about 5 minutes, right here. Everyone, go click on that and join that stream. I'll probably read their chat, not my own, and I'll run my outro and stuff, and I'll be appearing on their stream in just a minute. Yo, Pig, before you go, if you're serious about the flat earth thing, I work with NASA. I can help you with some physics stuff. Yeah, I might actually be interested in that. Go ahead and DM me on Discord. This is the video. All right, I'll take a look at it before we wrap up.
Helmet cheese! Cock cheese! Knob cheese! Helmet cheese! Cock cheese!
Okay, Conrad Courtney, thank you for the $5. Thank you everybody for the donations tonight. It's been quite fantastic. I really appreciate all of your support. You guys make it awesome. 1 month away. 1 month until I go to California. I'm going to California in a month. I'm gonna be live streaming tons with Illuminati in chat. She's my girlfriend. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna walk around Palm Springs and shit like that. We'll be doing we'll go to the beach a little bit, live stream there. Might walk around LA. We're gonna do all sorts of fun shit. IRL streams, political streams, it's just gonna be a good time. So I'm very excited to take that flight out, and you guys donating, you guys supporting me not only helps me pay my bills and pay for my food, but also be able to afford that trip, because God, guys, it's gonna be a $450 plane ticket for me to stay there for 2 weeks. The plane ticket alone, $450. The trip, probably gonna cost me a few grand. So I really appreciate all of your donations. You guys are amazing. Thank you for your support. Pig Puncher, out. The Get Pig Puncher Laid Foundation. Okay. Okay.